And the last thing is just real world functions. Talking about what a function is, some real world examples. If you truly understand that idea of only one output for each input, okay, remember, a function was only one output for each input. This is not going to involve any equations or anything like that. It just involves a situation. The situation in this first one is someone who's working for $8 an hour. The input variable, or the number you're putting in, is how many hours they worked that week. So like, let's say they worked 10 hours. Why does it keep turning off today? That's great. This first one. If you worked, let's say 10 hours in a week, how much are you going to make that week? How much do you work? 10 hours gives you $80, right? 20 hours, how much is that going to give you? How much is that going to give you? 20 times 8, 160. Is it going to come up where you get $80 or some other number here? Can you ever get two different outputs for one amount of time worked? Get tips. You're only going to have one result from this, right? If this is the way you're being paid, if 1 week you work 10 hours and another week you work 10 hours, is it now suddenly you're going to get a different amount of money? No. If that's the way you're getting paid and there's no raise and there's no tips or anything like that, it's a function. If it's let's say working for tips. So if we had another one here. Working for, all you're getting paid is tips. You're not getting any kind of hourly wage. Or maybe you're also getting an hourly wage. Let's say you worked in a restaurant, you worked 10 hours 1 week, and you made $80 in tips. But then the next week you worked 10 hours, and how much did you get? Maybe that week you only got $70. The same number you put in, same number of hours each week, but you got a different result each week. Is that a function? I know it keeps turning off. I see that. I don't know why. Okay, it's still up here. Okay, a note about while you're discussing these, the answer as in yes or no, it is a function or not, isn't important here. It's the logic you're putting behind it, because I think people could argue yes or no for a lot of these, right? You could make an argument why it is or make an argument why it isn't. Okay, obviously it's not just an equation where the answer is obvious, is it yes or no? Okay, so as you're discussing them, the important thing is why or why not, why you're saying yes. For each of these situations, I mean, some of them are obviously, I mean, when they're not mathematical situations, then it's always open to debate whether it is or not. But the watching TV one, as in, let's say if you pick channel 51 or something like that, and what show might be on channel 51? What is it? Phineas and Ferb. Okay, Phineas and Ferb is on. And then maybe tomorrow you turn on channel 51, and what might be on then? Can I just put Phineas and, is it with PH? Is that how? PH? Ferb is F? Okay. PH and F, okay. And then what's another show that might be on 51? Now if I put this on YouTube, I have to pay royalties to them probably because I mentioned their name, but I'm just kidding. What? On 51? What's on 51 maybe? Okay. Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, okay. So one day you pick channel 51 and you got this show. Another day you pick channel 51, you got this show. That's enough evidence to decide whether it's a function or not. What's the answer?
What if you choose TV listing?
Okay. Okay, well hang on. If this is how you look at it, most times when you pick a channel one day and you pick a channel the next day, you get a different show, right? Sometimes you get the same show, but are you always going to get the same show? Like, The only way this could be a function is if every time you pick channel 51, you get the same show. And every time you pick every channel, you get the same show. This pretty much is no, right? I know there's channels where it plays all the same thing all the time, practically, right? Yes. If all the channels were like that channel that shows the fire, right? That fireplace channel. If all the channels were like that, then it's a function. I want fireplace, I put this channel. Okay? The answer is no, because you can get different show on same channel, depending, right? Right? You pick 51 one day. If the same x value gives you a different y value each time, not a function. How about studying for exams? Let's say you study for an exam for 2 hours, and you get 82%. And you studied for another exam 3 hours, and you got 82. Does that tell you whether it's a function or not? Does that enough to tell you whether it's a function? Is it okay if you get the same result from different inputs? Can this still be a function, or is that enough to say it's not? Look at the difference up here. Up here it was the same input giving you different outputs. That's what makes it no, right? If the same x value has more than one y value, that's not a function. But you can have, oh look, no matter how much I study, I get 82. Probably you're not going to study then. 10 hours, 82. That's still a function. You know what the graph looks like? It looks like here's hours you study and here's your mark. It just looks like 0 hours, 82. 1 hour, 82. It's a straight line across like that. No matter what I do, I get 82. That's still a function. Anywhere you cross it with a vertical line, it's still a function. It only touches it once. But this thing up here, these are not numbers, obviously, so you can't really make a graph. But channel 51, there's two different shows. This is, is it possible that it could be the other way around? Is it possible that we could study for 3 hours on a different exam and get a different mark? Yeah, you could get 60% on this one. This is a no, right? Can study the same amount, like for two different exams, but get different marks, right? That's probably enough evidence that it's not. Different marks. What about the baking bread one? I know there's a lot of variables in baking bread, as in the ingredients, the temperature of the oven, all that kind of stuff. Let's say you had the oven at, 350, or I'm going to write 375, doesn't matter. 350 degrees, and this particular bread rises to 14 centimeters high, right? That's the height of the thing that comes out. The question is, could I end up on a different day, can I end up with a different height loaf here if I put exactly the same temperature? If I put the same temperature here, can I get a different height? Maybe this time it's only 13? Does that happen? Probably. It's not always going to be exactly the same every time you do it, right? There's other things that affect it, obviously. That's enough to say it's not, right? No, because you can have different heights for same temperature. If you do a different temperature and get the same height, that's not enough to say this doesn't make it not a function. It's the fact that you have two different numbers for the same input.